We are living in one of the most connected times in human history. With a tap on a screen, we can reach loved ones from across the world, access care from home, and monitor our health in real time. And yet, despite all this, loneliness has quietly become one of the greatest threats of our times, especially as we age. So how can we be so connected and yet feel so alone? And what can we do when the technology that is supposed to help unite us is confusing, burdensome, and overly complicated? This is Aging Forward, a podcast from Mayo Clinic about the science behind healthy aging and longevity. Each episode, we explore new ways to take care of our long-term health, the health of our loved ones, and our community, so we can all live longer and better. I'm Dr. Christina Chen, a geriatrician and internist at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Today, we are honored to welcome Scott Lien, a leader in the technology space who has dedicated his work to improving the lives of older adults. Scott's mission is to use technology to foster meaningful connection. He's the founder of GrandPad, a user-friendly tablet designed specifically for seniors that has helped millions stay engaged with their families and communities in a human-centered way. It's so exciting to have you here, Scott. Welcome to the podcast.
Great to be with you.
Scott, you are our first person not in the health sector to be a guest on this podcast to explore how technology really influences our health. So excited to kind of dig into that.
Excellent. Me too.
So just to start, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what drew you into the mission of helping older adults and just how you got into this health age tech space?
Yeah, I think a couple vectors. I grew up on a farm, and I think farmers are the greatest innovators because they have to wear so many hats. My dad was a welder, geneticist, a veterinarian, and all those different things to be a dairy farmer. And so I saw that. So that was one thing about, and you have to just figure it out and get it done. And it was a family farm, so it's just the six of us. But then the other part of that was the family aspect of working as a team and being connected, and it was multi-generational. So my grandma and grandpa were always around, and I developed a very close love and respect for the elderly as I was growing up. And then going to college out of necessity, I lived with my grandparents to save money, free room and board, and have my grandma loving to cook for me. And that's where my love and respect of the elderly really deepened. Sadly, I've lost all four of my parents, my mom, dad, my father-in-law, mother-in-law, who, of course, I was extremely close with all of them. But as a son and as a caregiver, seeing them go through their aging journey and seeing the challenges and also the beauty and love and respect in that. Also, that was what the inspiration for GrandPad came out of that as well.
And we'll talk about GrandPad a little bit, but I just love hearing this background of, you used your skill sets to really bridge a gap that was really framed by how you grew up and the people that inspired you and who made you who you are. So, and my story as well, like I feel like people who really have that mission, that passion to help older adults, you were raised by them. Like my grandmother as well. You were immersed in that lifestyle, being around older adults. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about this interesting paradox that we're seeing. We are more connected than ever through technology, yet loneliness is rising. And I find that so odd. Why do you think that is?
Well, sadly, I think we're in this transition phase. The smartphone has only been around about 20 years, and social media and some of the other tools have been around less than that. Now we have this tidal wave hitting us called AI. And so you think about anything new innovations, whether it was electricity or the steam engine or airplanes, in the initial phase, there's lots of churn as people figure out how do they manage this new thing. So I think that's part of it. The other, I think, is that technology companies, they tend to really focus on what they believe is the biggest part of the market, which is younger people. The demographic that all tech companies kind of go after is that age 20 to 50 demographic. And everything that they build, they're optimizing for that group. And so it's really just in the last few years of really seeing like, wow, there's this huge market out there of older adults. It's a big, important, valuable market, and people are just starting to wake up to that. So I think we will see more products and services focused on and optimized for older adults. I think those are the two biggest reasons. But the third, I think all of us as the adult children of older adults, the caregivers, but for the older adults themselves, we all have to manage these tools and don't let them manage us. So we all know there's lots of things in the media about people getting addicted to their phone or into social media. And just like any addiction, we've got to manage that and don't let these things take over our lives. And there's some really good emerging trends actually with young people that are turning off social media and limiting their screen time. And there's an amazing new cell company that's come out where they actually incentivize you to use your phone less. So I think those are all positive trends, but it kind of comes down to us individually. We need to manage these tools so they truly improve our lives and they don't make our lives worse or more lonely.
Right. As I was preparing for this conversation, I was really reflecting on the word loneliness. You could be in a whole room of people and still feel lonely because that meaning is not there.
Yep.
That human experience may not be there if you don't feel connected to the people around you. And so I do wonder if technology has contributed to this feeling of isolation.
When I was growing up, everyone had landlines. There was a phone book. You could call anyone in your town. You had everyone's number. And you knew that if you needed to get a hold of someone, like if you called them maybe around dinner time, people were home from work, you could always get a hold of people. And back then, people didn't even have any kind of answering machines. Now, I'm in the car, I'll call 10 friends or family.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if you get one person out of 10 to answer the phone, even calling it like a quote normal time. People don't do that. And so I always tell my friends, my family, my coworkers, you can call me anytime. Don't text me. When you have a conversation or better yet, a video call, there's a connection there. So I think that's an example like us managing that. Don't revert to, well, I'm just going to text the person. Like, no, call them, have a chat.
We live in a world where we value efficiency and things to be done quickly and we get answers right away. It's so much easier to text. You just have a quick question and it's 3 seconds. And now I've been moving more towards, I'm just going to call.
Yeah.
And it'll take longer to get the answer maybe. But then I can ask how the person is doing. How is their day? How can I support you?
Right. And you maybe hear in their voice like, they have a cold. Maybe they're not feeling well. You're making a human connection versus just a transaction.
So the loneliness pandemic that we're experiencing right now, we're learning more and more that is contributing to a major health risk. And that's part of the reason why you built GrandPad is to try to solve for that problem. Can you talk about how loneliness has impacted older adults specifically?
Sadly, as you've said, it's a shocking percentage of older adults, and it's also really affecting all ages. Like we're hearing a lot about 20-year-olds, just horrific loneliness with that age group as well. Some say it's up to 50% of older adults experience chronic loneliness. It's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, the same physical health effects, and there's good validated research behind that. So it's a big problem, and it was growing, and then the pandemic hit, and it got really bad, but we never really bounced back from that.
And from the clinical side, I see it translate into feelings of depression and, loneliness is different than depression because depression is a clinical diagnosis, but loneliness is more of a feeling and an experience, but it leads to depression, which can become very severe. And also there's association with the risk of dementia as well. Chronically lonely individuals have a higher risk of developing dementia. So from a clinical side, I feel stuck at times because when I hear about loneliness, I don't know what to do.
Right.
I try to reach out to family members and ask them, do you have friends? And usually the answer is, well, I don't know how to get a hold of them. I don't even know how to connect with them anymore.
Right.
And in theory, the technology should be fighting this problem. But like you mentioned earlier, a lot of technology caters to a younger population and maybe isn't as senior friendly, which can actually exacerbate the loneliness issue instead.
Yeah. Well, first, I really take issue with people who say, well, older adults can't use technology or, they just need to try harder or we have to train them. The reason that technology oftentimes is frustrating for older adults is the people that built it, the people that designed it, they didn't take into account the unique, wonderful physical and cognitive characteristics of older adults. We're forcing someone who's 90 and maybe has eyesight issues and maybe has cognitive issues, maybe has dexterity issues. We're forcing them to use a product, a smartphone, that was designed by a 30-year-old for a 30-year-old. And the thing we learned with the GrandPad is As it turns out, everybody likes simple. So you design something that works wonderfully for a 90-year-old. 70-year-olds love it, 50-year-olds love it, 40-year-olds love it because they go, wow, this is just natural.
Can you give an example of one of the challenges that technology creates for older adults?
Let me give an example. I call these poof points, points of frustration. So it might be like lots of people like to watch shows on Netflix now. And I'll hear older adults say, gosh, when I was growing up, the TV had 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS, and you had a manual, turn, and the remote was probably telling your son to go turn the TV up or down. Now TVs are so complicated. Mm-hmm. They can't find the show, or maybe they're at coffee with someone. They say, oh, did you watch that great show on Netflix? It's called Emily in Paris. And they're like, I can't get Netflix to work, right? So now they're left out of the conversation because they've hit one of these points of frustration. And it makes them feel left out. It can make them feel stupid, right? Mm-hmm. They say, well, why can't I navigate Netflix on my, quote, smart TV? But they're not stupid. It's that the technology was not designed for them. And then that causes them to kind of withdraw and get more isolated, and they're less plugged in to the community.
Let's talk about how you use that point of frustration poof experience to design GrandPad. Can you share the story behind that?
One of my great mentors and inspiration, my mom, who was a brilliant lady. She was in her 80s at the time. She ran her own business. And I'll never forget, she said, here's my smartphone, in quotes, but this thing makes me feel stupid. I'm not stupid. She goes, this thing wasn't designed for me. Mm-hmm. And she said, Scott, you're the tech guy. I was working in Silicon Valley at the time. She says, can't you design something that us older adults would love and that it enriches our lives and helps us feel more connected? So that was the inspiration. Off we went. We started looking at this and we said, well, there's a huge gap here. Many older adults are frustrated with smartphones and tablets. And if we design something from scratch, the hardware, the software, the support, the customer care, everything, the packaging, like make the box easy to open, I think they'll love it, and it will be a way for them to stay connected with their circle of care, their family, friends, and caregivers. So that's what we set out to do, and it took off and went gangbusters, and it really made a huge difference in the lives of so many seniors. Mm-hmm. The average age of our users was 85. That was the average. Our oldest was Anna at 114, but lots of people in their 80s, 90s, and 100s used our product. And their family would say, once they got going on this, because they were now able to easily video call their grandkids and easily see pictures of the grandkids and easily do a telehealth visit with their doctor, their family would say wow, my she has pep in her step again. She's got her energy back. They were lonely and they were isolated and feeling less connected. And all of a sudden, once they reconnected, it energized them.
I think it's so interesting that you took a problem and built a solution around it to make it easy and user-friendly. And like your mom said, this is still complicated. I can use it, but it can be made easier. So what are other barriers that make technology difficult for older adults to use?
Yeah, there's so many. And this is from the hardware design, software design, even appliances around the kitchen. We've kind of got this one-size-fits-all. Mm-hmm. And a 10-year-old is very different than a 30-year-old is very different than a 90-year-old. And so we need to design a solution for that age group, that person. I'll give you another example. This can apply to every type of business, especially as people get older. They do want to talk to a human.
Yes.
They don't want to go onto a website. They don't want to download an app. They don't want to talk to a computer. They don't want to text. They just want to call someone and talk to them and ask them a question. And I've run a bunch of big call centers over the years. It's not cheaper to try to have a VRU, an AI, or a text bot, answer those. Make that available for the people that want that. But for people that want to talk to a human, let them easily connect with a human being. These are your customers. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, you're going to really cement the relationship. I mean, it's just good business. And people are going to say, wow, I was able to call this restaurant and the human being answered. They were polite and they took my reservation over the phone versus Some restaurants you call and they say, oh, please go on open table, blah, blah, blah. We don't take phone calls. And so there's little things like you do that kind of just go back to the good old fashioned way that things used to be. And you're meeting people where they are.
I wish for more automation. Like, I just want something to come out of the box and just work with minimal instructions. If I see a long instruction manual, I give it to my husband.
Right.
You can take care of it for me. I just wish things were made easier in simple steps, 1, 2, 3. That's how it works. If there's any problems, you can talk to a human, which I think is increasingly rare nowadays as we're trying to find efficiencies and cost savings and such. Any other ways to make technology truly age-friendly? And how is it useful in maintaining our health?
Well, first, another thing in the design is you have to look at the full end-to-end experience. Make it easy for people to buy your product and sign up for it. And then when you ship it to them, make it easy, that first use experience. So packaging. And you think like, does that really matter? Yeah. If someone can't get it out of the box and they're frustrated right away. I just had something this week that I had to open. I almost cut my finger opening it.
Oh.
You think about a lot of older adults are on warfarin and a blood thinner. If they cut their finger, that could be a catastrophic issue.
Right.
So make the box easy. Again, this can apply to anything. But the way it can really connect and improve their health is first, just on what we've been talking about, if it can help reduce their loneliness, isolation, and plug them into the community, that's going to boost them. But you all see lots of patients here, and we live in Minnesota, and maybe it's a cold, snowy day, and it's hard for people to get to their appointment. Making telehealth really accessible. So instead of it, because of driving issues or bad weather, making it hard for a patient to see their healthcare provider, it's like, wow, we can easily pop on and do a telehealth visit. And it's easy for the doctors, but it's easy for the patient. And that's one, like, we can design that friction out of the system and make it more accessible. Of course, there's lots of other things with wearables, tracking steps and tracking other vitals. But I'll give you another example of a great company that I've been working called Halo Care. And just like the name, like think of a halo over you. They help older adults stay independent and living longer in their own home. So people, maybe their spouse has died, they're living alone. It's passive monitoring and sensors that you put in the house, not cameras, but it's things like a little sensor that's on the microwave and on the refrigerator and on the coffee pot. So it learns that person's normal patterns. And it says, oh, every day Scott gets up at 7 a.m., he makes a pot of coffee, he takes his medication, he has his breakfast. The sensors can see that. If all of a sudden today it's 9 a.m. and we haven't seen any movement from Scott, it then can escalate and investigate that issue. It'd result in a outreach care call. Hey, Scott, how are you doing today? Well, I'm still in bed. I'm really not feeling that well. Okay. Can we, should we call your daughter? Should we escalate the issue? So there's lots of wonderful ways like that technology can help people stay independent. 90% of seniors want to continue to live in their own home. They don't want to be moved to somewhere else. It gives them peace of mind, and it gives their children peace of mind. Like, hey, mom's okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of technology these days with these sensors and wearables, and I've really come to appreciate telemedicine, especially during COVID, that allowed me to reach people who normally wouldn't be able to access healthcare. But there's been just a huge boom of all these separate technologies that kind of exist in silos, monitoring here, evaluating health needs there. And I don't know really the research behind this. Are they truly making a difference? Are we seeing any movement and this actually does reduce a fall? And do these sensors, if we notice someone's pattern changing, if we intervene early, are they getting better outcomes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag for sure, because you make headway on this issue, but there's some other counteracting force that's, neutralizing that. I know with GrandPad, with Halo Care, we have clear measurements and clear tests that we were able to see that these things did reduce loneliness and isolation, get people more engaged, make their healthcare more accessible to them, so they were able to stay more connected with their healthcare providers. So I know it works. Yet it's a responsibility of that circle of care to help put together that system and make sure that all the pieces are functioning together so it can make a difference for the senior for sure.
And maybe it's also helpful to organize it in a way to understand, like, what are our goals, first of all? If this person is lacking social connection, and maybe they don't need help around the house, they don't need sensors to monitor if they're a fall risk, but they need simple technology to get them more connected to people around them that they perhaps have been isolated from. So, for example, my mother, I've talked about my mom a few times on the podcast here, but she was a very social person. And over the past 8 months, she's been very ill, such that she can't make it to her church groups. During the week, she's very isolated. We try our best to spend time with her and the grandkids, try to get her involved, but she just likes to be with her friends. And so she looks forward to 2 things in the week. Thursday, small groups. We get her on the big screen. We'll put the Zoom on and she gets to see all of her friends from church. And then on Sunday, we try to get her to church.
Yeah.
And however we are able to use technology to make her plugged into all that, I think that's a good use of technology there.
Yeah, that's such a great example. And I think that's emotional plea I'll make of all of us as the caregivers that are helping, whether it's parents or friends or neighbors.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say, well, it's hard to take them to church, or it's hard to take them to that card club. The weather's bad. And then those things slowly start to not happen. And we all have to invest and think, well, gosh, when I'm 90, wouldn't I want my son to make the effort to take me to that outing, even if it's snowy or it's a little hard or I have to get my walker or whatever it is. And that small thing that we as that circle of care do can make such a huge difference for that older adult. So, we just have to think about, when I'm 90, what do I want my circle of care to help me with?
How do we balance the safety and the privacy and autonomy of these modern technologies? Because as a whole, there's such a big influx of fraud and scams nowadays. I mean, I get at least 4 calls a day from someone that I never answer, but older adults are more prone to answering phone and potentially getting scammed. So what's your experience there?
Yeah, the scams against all of us, but especially older adults, it's horrific and it's getting worse by the day. And sadly, AI is being used to scam older adults faster and more efficiently, and really sophisticated scams. So all of us of all ages, we have to invest in educating ourselves on this. Second is, working with really trusted and reputable service providers. So don't just go on a website and sign up for some service. Do your research and really dig into, is this a good, reputable company that cares about my data privacy, and they're going to build a secure solution that's not going to get hacked. I think for us, the circle of care, checking in with the older adults a lot and asking them questions.
Yeah,
right. When my mom was still around, I would always ask her, say, Mom, have you got any strange emails? Have you got any strange phone calls? And she'd say, well, I did get this phone call the other day and I didn't want to bother you with it. So engaging in that conversation. Then, God forbid, if a senior gets scammed, we don't want to admonish them or say, oh, Mom, how could you be so foolish to fall for that? It's like, it can happen to anyone.
Anyone, that's true.
And so we've got to really rally around them. And again, set up systems, show people how to block calls. One of the main reasons why older adults engage in those phone calls and answer those phone calls is they're lonely. And when these scammers call on the phone, they're quite friendly, they're quite convincing, and they're nice, and they'll chat with them. So if we can help reduce loneliness and isolation, there's not that desire to answer every phone call, even when the caller ID is unknown.
I have 3 rules for my parents. Whenever you see something pop up on the computer that's telling you to call a number, ignore it.
Right.
If there's someone calling you on the phone that's not on your list of favorites, don't pick it up. And if there's anything that you don't understand from an email, let me know.
Right.
Or from the mail even. Like, they'll open up a mail and it says, you get a check for $500. Call this number to claim it. Right.
But the other little tip I always give our families is make sure you have a secret code word, a family code word. And it's not the name of the dog, because the bad guys are really sophisticated and they'll figure out. So come up with a secret code word, because now with AI, your mom will get a phone call and it will sound just like you.
Oh my goodness, I've heard about that.
It will have, because your voice is public, people can easily spoof your voice. It will sound just like you. It will know everything about you. And your mom could engage and she would swear that it's you. But It doesn't know the secret family code word. And so first, when in doubt, hang up and call back. But second, you can say, well, what's the secret code word? And when the bad guy doesn't know it, then that's a sign. But yeah, you've got to be really careful. Voice spoofing and even video spoofing is coming.
Oh, that's crazy. That's so scary to think about.
Yeah.
Let's quickly talk about designing technology for humans, not just users, the principles that should guide the design of technology for older adults, but how also we can ensure that it enhances connection rather than replace the human connection. So how important is simplicity, and what are just general design principles you think we should be looking for, whether you're a tech builder or when you're buying technology?
Yeah. So I call it design with a capital D, meaning it's the true end-to-end experience from first contact with that potential customer to last contact. I'm going to give you a non-technology answer to show this can be applied to anyone, any business. So a restaurant. Older adults like to go out to eat just like everyone, and it's a social experience for them. But I've found one of the reasons why a lot of older adults stop going to eat, especially at certain places, is they go there and they can't hear anything. One of the sad design kind of trends is restaurants like to have buzz and energy. And you go there and it's so loud, you can't hear anything. So they can't even talk to the person across the table. Or it's so dark that they can't read the menu, or the menu's in such small type. So the whole experience goes from being a fun social experience to frustrating. I can't hear, I can't see the menu. I just want to go home. Especially in a place like Rochester, there's a lot of older adults here. And there's a lot of things you can do to design a restaurant so you can hear. The lighting's appropriate, the menu size there, have someone answer the phone so people can make reservations. And all of a sudden, seniors go, I love going to that place. That was a great experience. And it's simply designing that end-to-end experience and taking into account your customers, which I would argue for restaurants, it's going to be more than half of your audience. That's going to be a positive to them. I mentioned packaging, anything that you're shipping out to people. But I'll give you one that's really hard, as we were just touching on security and scams against people. So especially healthcare providers need to have very sophisticated security. So you got to log in, and you got to have this MFA, multi-factor authentication, and all these things that make it hard for the bad guys to get in. Well, those things make it really difficult for older adults to get in and see their health record and so on. So we really have to look at that and do lots of user testing and lots of user feedback. And one of the principles that I've used in every one of my businesses is this user-driven design, customer-driven design. Sit down, get your product service, and test it with your customers and really listen with an open mind and open ears to what their feedback is. Was there anything we can improve on? Was there anything that bothered you? How can we make this better? We need to fix that issue because it's going to create a better experience. So that's the key, is just listening to your customers, because that's one of the things that I learned from GrandPad is younger folks, oftentimes they'll get frustrated, like, oh, my phone doesn't work, and they'll blame Microsoft or Google or Apple. Older adults tend to think it's them. Oftentimes they'll think like, gosh, why can't I remember 50 passwords? I must be having cognitive challenges. They start to blame themselves when it's not them. It's a poorly designed product.
Right. So then how can we empower these older adults who feel that they can't use these things? How do we empower them to embrace technology in a way that improves their quality of life and their independence and preserving their dignity?
Well, I think we all need to listen and engage with them, and for them to speak up. People like my mom that said, hey, it's not me, it's the product, it's this phone that's the challenge. And I think it's starting to happen. And I think us as society celebrating companies that really design great solutions for these older adults and point to them as examples.
For those of us who are intimidated by technology, where should we even begin? There's so many things out there. We see all these Apple Watches and monitoring devices, and it gets confusing. Like, what's going to be helpful? What won't be? What's too much? How do we even start knowing what's good for us? And how do we start approaching all of this?
Yeah, first, it's for sure not one size fits all. And I'll give an example of my family. So my mom loved to use her grandpad for social connection.
Mm-hmm.
She loved doing video calls with me and all of her kids and grandkids and photo sharing. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, she liked that, but she really loved playing games on her grandpad. She was very into the cognitive games of crossword and solitaire. And so we recognize there's different solutions for different people. Just because they were both 80 didn't mean they were the same. So I think finding different solutions, designing a solution that they enjoy, finding those kind of resources that's going to benefit you as that caregiver that might be helping mom and dad with some of these questions.
This is great advice. Just meeting people where they're at, starting with understanding what they want, right? What's potentially lacking, whether it's human connection or is it more games?
Yeah.
Perhaps people do like more movies. And if we can figure out a way to easily navigate Netflix, we can find a way to introduce more things to do for them throughout the day, right? So I think there is a role in using technology in a meaningful way without replacing the entire living experience with just that.
Yeah, and I would just close on that sometimes the best solution is not technology. It's the good old-fashioned phone call, or if someone is struggling trying to read the news on an iPad, have the newspaper delivered to them. I mean,
That's true.
Paper is still a good solution in a lot of cases. One of our new products that we've launched is about community events, all about getting people plugged into the community. Because one of the things we saw, a lot of things are on Facebook. Well, there's a lot of people who aren't on Facebook or are frustrated by Facebook. So we took all the community events, put it on paper, and we mail it to people.
Love that.
We use technology behind the scenes to curate and create that content, but it's delivered on paper. They're like, I love this.
Mm-hmm. We just have a few last closing questions for you. And number one is, what excites you, Scott, most about the future of technology and aging? What do you feel like is going to be something great that's in the future?
Well, two things. I'll give a technology solution, non-technology. I'm really excited about Arthur Brooks and some of his writings. He's really picked up this banner about helping people design their life to increase happiness and meaning and purpose and reduce loneliness and isolation. I'm really impressed by his podcasts, his books. He's got some amazing thinking about this. And summarize it, it comes down, each of us have to design our own life to create that connection and purpose. On the technology side, and I'm very realistic about this, the pros and the cons is AI. AI, I'm in the camp that believes it is the most powerful tool technology that humans have ever created. And with that power comes tremendous potential to do good and tremendous potential to do really bad things. And so me and my team, we're working to, as technologists, try to shape that. And what are solutions that we can create and steer AI for good? Of course, it's already being used in healthcare in a great way. I believe it will help doctors find solutions to healthcare problems faster. And I believe probably in my lifetime, for sure in my son's lifetime, a lot of these horrible diseases are going to be cured or prevented. So it's going to do tremendous good. But we all have to fight to avoid the bad and shape it. And that's about usage and policy. But step one is engaging it, understanding it. I think for some people, it's a little overwhelming and they just want to tune it out, or they just think AI is only ChatGPT. I'd encourage all of us to engage and educate, read books, listen to podcasts about it so you understand it. We don't want to be scared of it, but we want to shape it. And there's going to be incredible things that are going to come from it.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
How do you personally age well? What does aging forward mean to you?
Yeah.
How do you design your life?
Number one is relationships, building community, building deep relationships. And we should all have at least 3, 10 is better, of people you could call at 4 a.m. and you say, I need help. And they say, I'll be right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen overnight. You have to build and invest in that. So that's something that me and my wife are really investing in. Of course, eat right and exercise. But for me, long walks is something, a chance to clear your brain, be outside. And in the little community I live in, I love on a sunny day when I get stopped about 10 times along my way to say hi to Linda, my neighbor who's a widow, to say hi to John, and take the time to talk. So what might have been a 30-minute walk turns into an hour and a half walk because I talked to 10 people on the way. So, get out, be in your community.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for this conversation, and also just reminding us that aging forward in a digital world isn't about replacing human connection, but really enhancing it. And I think technology can do that in a very meaningful way if we're intentional with it. It can be a bridge and not a barrier. Thank you a lot for this conversation.
Great to be with you.
So that's all for this episode. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more informed, inspired, and empowered. If you have a topic suggestion for a future episode, you can leave us a voicemail at 507-538-6272, and we might even feature your voice on the show. For more Aging Forward episodes and resources, head to mayoclinic.org/agingforward. And if you found this show helpful, please subscribe and make sure to rate and review us on your podcast app. It really helps others find our show. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious and stay active.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as medical or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for any medical questions. The appearance of any guest does not imply an endorsement of them, their employer, or any entity they represent. The views and opinions are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Mayo Clinic. Reference to any product, service, or entity does not constitute an endorsement of or recommendation by Mayo Clinic.